welcome back to the topics. And with us today is Kun Jiraphon Chayasang. Welcome to the show. Our first female guest. She is a social critic as well as a registered member of the Perthai Party. Start with our first topic, the floods.
The floods.
Is there going to be a repeat of the floods that we had last year? There's been so much worry that the test being done by the government to test the drainage is going to make it worse.
It's going to
cause a flood.
Okay.
So, what do you think?
Well, I think the residents are, the Bangkokans are, I think, prepared, and because I think everyone didn't want, what happened last year.
They are prepared, meaning they think that it's going to flood?
Well, for the flooded area that has flooded before the flood, I mean, they have to be prepared. But for those, who would be scared of the flood again, I think they are prepared enough, to get ready for the flood.
Now, these tests were supposed to test the drains to see if the flow of water can actually, they can actually handle the huge flow of water.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they test this during a rainy season?
Well, I think it's already scheduled in. It's not.
Who would schedule?
Well, they need to have. They need to have a volume of water, a suitable volume of water, presumably to test the drainage capacity anyway, Adrian. That's why.
So if you test, season. If you're going to do a fire drill,
yeah.
do you need to burn?
No, but you still need water, and if you do it in dry season, there's not enough water to test. But I think if we rewind a little bit for the reason why there might be a flood. I mean, the main reason why there was a flood last year is because some bright spark decided to keep all the water behind the dams.
That's right. Yes.
And I mean,
if the water level behind the dams is at a suitable level, then there shouldn't be a flood. Not on the same scale as what we saw last year.
Well, I think the overall scheme is to effectively manage the water flow, and to have the test is to see how the water flow would be, and also how they can effectively manage the drainage system, because you have to see all the canals, before the flood. It's just like, the drainage system.
Well, I think last year, if I remember correctly, the Deputy Agriculture Minister admitted that
he kept too much water.
He kept too much water in the dams for the rice crop. So
how's the water level in the dams?
Are they going to make the same mistakes again this year? What do you think?
I don't think no one wants to make the same mistake. I think it's just a matter of trying to coordinate.
Talking about coordinate, there's this issue, right? The minister was saying, I'm going to put out water, and the Bangkok governor was saying it's not the right time.
Well, I think everyone has to work together now. It's not about being another between Perthai and Democrat. I think everyone has to make an effort to work together. Otherwise, Bangkokans will suffer, and residents will suffer again. And there has to be a more effective communications, between the government and also the interior ministry, as well as the Bangkok Metropolitan.
They started the test 2 days ago, right? They started the test 2 days ago, and 1,000 rai of farming land in Ayutthaya was flooded.
Well, that didn't have anything to do with the test. So it's
very convenient. It's very convenient to say there's got nothing to do with the test.
It rains, and naturally
so
it has
rains,
to,
you do a test,
the water,
and then there's a flood, and you say it's got nothing to do with the test.
Hey, if the rice field is already, if it's if the rice field is in the lower plain, then naturally it would flood. If there's heavy rain.
I would say that they probably chose this period to test because if the test failed, they will blame it on the rain.
Right, Jay
Adrian, they do need to have water. They do need to have water to test.
There's water in the dam, right? They could have released the water in the dam to test.
Yeah.
They need to test the flow of the Kong, the water to from Kong to Viwattana to Kong Pasir Jalon, and so they need to test the water level, how it flows. Okay. So you cannot have a 50%.
I think another point. Okay, we should move on from that point, but another point is that all these flood barriers that are being built, flood defences that are being built on riverbanks and all around these industrial estates, this could actually help contribute to making the floods worse second time around if we have something on the same scale, because they're actually blocking the natural pathways of water and containing the water into smaller areas, and then when it hits an area where the flood defences aren't so strong, then the river could potentially burst its banks, I think.
Well, I mean, the system is supposed to allow the water to flow effectively. So the way they manage to build the dam to protect the industrial estates is to be able to manage the water flow around the
I hope
industrial estates
the right
area.
experts are being called in to help. I mean, you watch Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
Hollywood movies, when there's a scene starts with disaster, when there's a disaster, and then the next thing is helicopters come and pick up experts and say, you are needed to help us. Are the right experts
last
involved?
year they picked up a prime minister, an army general, and
I would say there are a lot more experts on water flow.
okay, we've got to move on. We've got to move on.
experts.
So we'll see. I mean, rainy season, it seems, is just really kicking in now.
I bought flood insurance.
As long as there's not too much water in the dams, and as long as all those flood defences allow water to pass through, as long as they let the water go in a natural manner, they don't hold it anywhere, as long as the clongs have been dredged properly this year, I don't think we're going to see any major flooding. I mean, it was mainly man-made last year anyway, I think. So we've got to move on. What's the next topic?
Okay. The next topic is justice blind. There was a case of this, we spoke about this a couple of episodes ago. So last week, the court handed down the sentence on the young female driver who was involved in the accident on the tollway, where her car hit a van and 9 people actually perished in that accident.
Okay.
So she got what did she get? She got a suspended 2-year sentence.
She was suspended 2-year prison sentence.
Yeah, and she has to do 48 hours of community work.
Yep.
And she's banned from getting a driving license for 7 years.
Right.
So there was a bit of uproar in the social networks and amongst various forums that's too light, too little for what she costs. What do you think?
Well, I would agree. I mean, I think justice, the sentence already been made. So therefore, I don't think we can do anything about it. But socially, well, it's very for the family. I think the girl should acknowledge and apologize.
She was a juvenile. She has not made an official apology. I think her family is concerned that if she makes an apology, is as good as admitting that she caused the accident. But now she's been found guilty anyway. The cause of the accident was because of her. So if it's because of her, she has not apologized yet.
People have said if you look at the CCTV camera footage of the manner in which she was driving and the manner in which the minivan was driving, I haven't seen it, but I've been told that the minivan driver was swerving across the lane and crashed into her. And if you drive on the expressway, you always see the minivan drivers driving in a very, very reckless manner. I mean, there was a spate of these accidents. This particular accident took place in December 2010. And just around that time, there was a spate of 2 or 3 accidents where a van had crashed over the top and burst into flames and several people being killed. On a daily basis, if you drive on the expressways, you see these minivan drivers driving like they're like crazy lunatics. So it's only a matter of time before these accidents happen.
You can't always blame it on the other guy, right?
No,
I
mean, it's a valid point that,
she shouldn't even be driving in the first place.
She shouldn't have been, she was a minor, she didn't have a driving license.
That's right.
She shouldn't have been driving.
That's right.
She should accept responsibility.
That's right.
And there's always a way in Thailand where responsibility is accepted through compensation.
Right.
The families are asking 110 million baht.
Not necessarily through jail time. Not necessarily through jail time, but through compensation.
But money cannot.
Money doesn't bring anyone back, but I mean, it's just the way it is here.
The problem with money is this. The problem with money is this. What's happening on the social network, there's this picture of 2 people. One was this lady who was sentenced to jail for, I think, 2 years.
Right.
All she did was she found some pirated DVDs or something, and she sold them, and she was arrested.
Right.
And she was found guilty of selling pirated DVDs.
Right.
She was fined 30,000 baht, but
and sent to jail.
She was fined 30,000 baht, but she couldn't afford to pay 30,000 baht, so she had to serve a jail sentence.
Right.
She was the only breadwinner for 2 young kids. So there's a picture of her hugging her kids as she walked into prison. compared to this lady who killed, directly or indirectly, caused the death of 9 people, being given a suspended 2-year sentence. Now, does money make you less guilty?
No.
No,
of course not.
No, of course not. You cannot compare it like that.
I mean, that girl will probably have to live with the stigma for the rest of her life. She'll always be known as the girl that killed 9 people on the expressway and didn't do any jail time for it. And her parents are probably the ones that should be held responsible anyway.
Exactly. Another point
she's
I
a
was
juvenile
saying.
driving a car late at night without
right.
a driver's license. She was, what, 16 or 17 at the
Yeah, she was
time?
16 at the
The
time.
parents
on the
should be penalized, don't you think?
At expressway speeds. So if anyone should be going to jail, it should be her parents, surely.
Well, I think the lesson
the parents should be held accountable anyway.
Yeah. The lesson drawn from this is two things, you know. I mean, minors should not be driving. There should be, you know, more enforcement on this. And second thing is that, you know, we should regulate the van driver as well, you know, because a lot of time they drive very, very dangerously, and they carry a lot of passengers.
Van drivers and bus drivers. I mean, there was a story in The Nation, I think, a couple of weeks ago, where some experts were saying the death toll on Thailand's roads is too high. People are driving too recklessly and killing themselves. The authorities need to make the roads safer with better signage and better road conditions. Hell no. Thai people need to start facing up to their inadequacies about driving and just be sensible. Stop drink driving. Stop driving like it's a racetrack, because it's not. And if you're in a van or in a bus where the driver's behaving like a madman, you know, people need to stand up for themselves.
Please stop for the pedestrians.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times, you know, the drivers don't have any care for the pedestrians at all, you know.
So perhaps we should send everyone in Thailand back to driving school.
Oh, yes.
Okay, we got to stop. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back for the next session of the talk.
They can never break your pride.